Hello, welcome back to All United WFC. We're finally live. Apologies again. I think that's 3 shows running. We've been slightly late. We do apologise for that. But we're changing up the way we do previews now. We want to get rival fans on or neutral fans, because it's all very well and good as United fans sitting here and saying, yep, we're going to beat this team. But we want another fan's perspective, because it's very easy for us as United fans to agree on the result. However, I think in this game, we might all agree that this is going to be one direction traffic for the game. In the second half of the show, if you're looking forward to that, we're going to have obviously Deborah on to talk about the Polly Bancroft announcement that came out today. We've been waiting for that for a long time, so we'll discuss that a little bit later. Firstly then, Jack, I'm going to come straight over to you because this is the Leicester preview. Let's talk about Leicester then. How would you sum up the the first few games of the season from a Leicester women's perspective?
It's like the men's team, isn't it? So the men have got wins. Leicester have only got a win in the Conti Cup at the minute against Blackburn. But yeah, it's been a well-winded start, shall I put it. 6 new signings: Demi Vance, Erin Simon, Carrie Jones, Ellen Jones, Josie Green, Aileen Whelan. We've brought in some very decent talent, some very experienced players as well in Erin, Josie, who actually know the league. Aileen Whelan as well, she's captain this season. So it's not been the way that Lydia Bedford would have hoped in the start that we've had. First 3 games, we faced Villa, we faced Spurs, we faced Everton. And, you know, you could say we took the fight to them 3 sides and we could have got points out of them games. Everton, we were very unlucky. The Kirsty Lavelle goalkeeping error, which you would have seen against Everton in the very final seconds of the game. Villa, they beat us 2-0, but really, we made our own errors in that game. But we still could have scored goals. Tottenham, again, we took the fight to them. We played really well. But then we come to the Man City one, Connor, and my God, they absolutely battered us. And when we got the ball, they still got it back. And, you know, they must have had about 99 possession to our 1%. I know it ain't going to say that on stats-wise, is it? It's going to make us look like we've had a decent percent of possession. But, yeah, Man City, very good side. They dominated, played really well against Leicester and fully deserved the win. And Bonnie Shaw scored against us again. She got 2. So it's not been the greatest to start. We're at the bottom again, so we're going to have to climb our way up like we did last season.
Yeah, it was 76-24, if you want the exact possession.
That's just been nice, it didn't look like that on the day.
I know how you feel sometimes on that one. I'm going to come back to you with Lanzar's question in a second, but from a United point of view, Barry, Andy, I'll come to you. Barry, I'll come to you first, and Andy, just following on this. Coming into this game, we've got to be confident, right? Is this where we show the kind of team that we are? You know, we saw City put 4 past Leicester. Surely we've got to be looking to match that or better that.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, it isn't 10 and it's Skinner out, isn't it, really? Let's be honest. No, I'm kidding. Listen, we've just got to win. At the end of the day, it's always good if you get loads of goals, and there's nobody happier than me than when we score lots. I've gone 5-0. That's the prediction I went for. I reckon if we get 5, I mean, you're breathing there, Jack, but I mean, to be honest, I think that would...
I'm just puffing my cheeks listening to the score, Barry.
No, I think it's possible, 100%. Listen, they've not been anywhere near at the races in the manner they would like to be, and frankly, we have been tip-top this season. You know, we've gone out there and really started well, and I think if we start well, we create the sort of chances that we have done over the last few games. I think they're going to find it hard to cope with us. I think a lot of the teams are going to find it hard to cope with us, and so yeah, I think unless Leicester they've been eating their spinach before they play, I feel like it's going to be a bit tricky.
Yeah, in my view, if a mediocre team like City are knocking 4 past them, then we've got to be looking at least 5. I've predicted 5 myself, and yeah, we've hit 4-0 this season. It's time to step it up a bit. We've hit 4-0 and seen complaints. I think this is the one where we take the extra step and hit the 5.
interesting. It was Jamie Spencer that tweeted earlier talking about we've had 8 different scorers already in the WSL this season. Me and Barry were trying to think who the 8 were because I completely forgot who it was, but did manage to get there. So 8 different scorers already. It is looking like it's going to be slightly one-way traffic. But I just want to get to some of the questions that have come to you, Jack, before we move on to the kind of next bit. The first question there. Question on Carrie Jones. What is your thoughts? Does she get into the starting 11 moving forward? And I guess how has she been so far?
Yeah, I'd say she gets into the 11 all the time, Connor. She's not a winger. Lydia tried playing her out wide against Manchester City. Weren't really the effect that Lydia Bedford wanted. You've got to play players in their actual position. Carrie Jones, when she's played, you can see glimpses of very good potential, and I think she's a very good player who will go far and go to the top. She's doing well with the Welsh international side. She's done all right. I'm quite happy with how Carrie's performed this season, coming on loan from Man United, and hopefully she keeps in doing them performances and then scoring the goals to go with it. So, but you can't just count on one player to score the goals. It's got to be a whole team effort.
No, I'd agree with that.
They're not going to be able to play against us, are they? Old Jones, she can play.
I'm not sure. Is that different in the women's game?
Well, I think
the clubs, I don't think there's a set rule. I think it's based on the club's contract and what they put in place, rather than a set rule like there used to be.
I've had her out the team, to be honest, against this one due to the loan situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're right, Andy. I don't think there's an actual league rule in place. It's because we've had loan players play against us before, but then on some occasions it's like, oh, they're not eligible. So yeah, there must be something between the clubs in there. There was another question. I've completely lost it before we move. In fact, Lanzel, I'm going to come back to that question because I've got a question on the kind of relegation a little bit later. So I will come back to that question when we come to that. Barry, coming back to yourself then. Going into this weekend, we know the players we know the player or players that would start is out. Obviously, Russo seems to be out. Clinton's still out. Blundell and Honor, there's been discussions around them, but we'd expect them both to play. Would you expect any major changes this weekend? We were talking about rotation the other night. Is this the one game in the WSL so far you'd look at and go, this is the one you could potentially make a couple of changes? Do you expect to see any?
No. Now, listen, I'm a very simple man with very simple pleasures in life, and I feel like in a 22-game league season, then really all you need to do is put your best side out every single time. I think the minute you start chopping and changing and chuffing about with things, you're asking for trouble. If you're not sure about that, I will refer you to Aston Villa. It's never a good idea to make sweeping changes. If we do that, then I think Leicester will be buoyed by that. So, no, I don't think we should be making lots of changes. If we've got injuries, we replace them. If Hannah Blundell can't play, then stick Honor out on the left. If Honor can't play, then we're in a little bit of trouble, aren't we? Because it's going to be Thor at right back and Mayer at left back. So that'll be entertaining to see how that goes. Because we've not done that at all before. Or maybe Leah Galton goes in at left back and Mayer at right back. But you make the changes based on who can't play, I think, personally. So if... I know we've got to try and keep people happy, but equally, we've got to win the games. It's no good going, we nearly got third, or we nearly got second, or we nearly won the league. But wasn't it good we managed to get 7 caps for that person there? No, it wasn't. So get the points, win the games, and then give them longer from the subs bench. Do that 100%, let them earn their places. That's how any sensible football manager should work, and I am positive that Mark Skinner will take that under advisement. And act accordingly, won't you, Mark?
Oh dear. Andy, I'm just going to ask you the same question. Also throwing Lanzel's comment, backfire to say the same. I think you might bring in Bo Reeser in for Stanley, maybe Leon for Paris. Do you tend to agree with that? Are you expecting changes? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think I agree with Barry to an extent, but I think with the depth that we've now got in the forward line, I think the rotation is a way of keeping players hungry. Like Leon got a goal in the last game, so with Lessie out, put her up through the middle like Lanzel. I think Lanzel said that. Put her up through the middle. Somebody said that earlier on. Tell her, carry on. Show me what you can do. You're in there. Get on it. Do it again. make it hard for Leslie Russo to get back in the team. We've got a lot of players that can play a lot of different positions up front. So, yeah, switch it about and give them all that taster and get them all hungry for performing and earning starting spots. Because that's what depth gives you. It gives you competition to earn a spot against the player that's been playing. And it gives you different options. So play around with it a little bit. I don't like too many changes. 1 or 2 maybe, because you want to keep the rhythm, and that's what we want to see with this depth of quality that we've got. We want to see 1 in and 1 out, and the rhythm doesn't change. Could be any 4 in that front 4 positions and play the same kind of football with the same kind of tenacity. So small changes to keep everybody involved and hungry.
No, it's a fair point. And our resident referee, Ian, has come in. Players cannot play against their former parent clubs in WSL. Rambo was an exception. She was number 1 keeper and agreed in advance. So probably no carry this weekend, which is probably a good thing.
That had been a film. That would have been Rambo first choice.
What we in 11 minutes, you've already got a pun in there, or some kind of little joke in there. Lanzar's nicking me.
So I can't do big jokes.
Lanzar's nicking my job here because it seems like you're way ahead of me. I'm going to throw a curveball at you though here, Jack. We talk about when you're looking at United so far. I'm going to throw 2 questions at you here. So obviously Lanzar's question on screen: what are your thoughts on United so far as a rival fan? But also, where do you think United can be got at? Is there any weakness you've seen in this United side where you can go? Because as fans, we're going to defend every player. We're going to be like, oh, there's no weaknesses, but you could slightly improve this. I'm interested or intrigued to see what you think, where our weaknesses actually are from, and where Leicester can potentially get something from this.
Man United have had a very good season. They deserve to be top with the way they played. They picked up points when Arsenal and Chelsea have been dropping, including Man City. Yeah, quite impressed with how Man United have gone about things this season. They mean business. Mark Skinner's meant business, and he's took it with full stride, even though he's got his critics still, because things, little things have picked up like, oh, he shouldn't be doing this, he should be doing that, but you're still winning games at the end of the day, so you should just take it. But I guess with Man United, I don't think the weakness is up front. They've got a very good attacking force with Leah Golton, Ella Toon, and them sort of players. You've got Leon as well, haven't you? She's a cracking player for West Ham when she played for them. I think everyone, when they talk about weaknesses, it's about that midfield battle, isn't it? Midfield battle is the key to winning games. And if you can win that midfield battle, you get that sort of win on the day, don't you? But I think everyone looks at the defence. It's who the weakness you guys think Leicester can hurt in your defence. Because Leicester like to play out wide a lot. We don't stay too much central. We're too busy out wide. So potentially we could probably create a few chances down the wing, but down the middle, I think you'll have us in that sort of pocket area, because we need to go and battle hard at the weekend and really take the game to Man United and show what we're about. But it's going to be a tricky game in doing that, I think.
I think if Honor's not playing, I've just put it in the chat. So Russo, Clinton, Mannion, obviously the ones that are confirmed to be out, but Blundell and Honor are being checked, but you'd expect them likely to start. If Honor is missing, I'd be more worried if Honor was missing out of the 2. That's probably an area I'd look at, because, I mean, saying that, though, you'd probably put Myla Tissier to right back and you'd put Tunkara or somebody like that in the centre. And that's not exactly a downgrade in any way, especially with the start of the season that Maya's had. So potentially, Lanzar's countering, saying, I think I'll straight this out wide with Golden and Garcia as workaholics, with Honor and Blundell. I think that's the only thing for me, if there's any disruption to the current system that we've got, particularly that back 5. It's been the one constant in the WSL, hasn't it? So if that switches up, maybe, but I don't think there's anyone. Well, I'll ask you, Jack, on that. Is there anyone who should we be looking out for as United fans? Who is there anyone that we should be worried about looking at, going, they could cause a bit of an issue? Or
Well, if we play one up front and you play 5 at the back, you're going to have us pocketed all game, because when we have like a Tash Flint up front, she's not the quickest, but she can hold a ball up. But sometimes with Tash, you get them games where she can do that, but then she can't. So you get really frustrated in that sort of area. If Lydia can play a 2 up front, which really should be done for Leicester City this season, then you've got a chance in causing United problems. I think Shannon O'Brien's one of them who likes to get in the pockets, in behind the defenders and that. She has a bit of pace about her, a bit of necessity, shall I call it, a bit of fight and that. And that's what I like about Shannon. I think Shannon could be the one that could cause you problems. Ailey Whelan, she likes to create behind that striker, so she'll be in for one to try and pick him them pockets of the Man United defence. But if you guys sit back, we've got to find a way then to break you down, and we can't do that. We tried it against Man City and it just would not work, and we've done it plenty of times this season, Connor, in the games where you think we can break them down. We broke Everton down quite a lot of times, but we just can't put the ball away when we get the chances, and I think that's what we're lacking. We're lacking that striker that we should have had in the summer who's got a bit of pace, who can score goals, and I think that's what we've missed out on massively in the transfer window.
I'd be amazed if we sat back. I've got to be honest. I think it is going to be similar to South City. Well, Barry, Andy, I'll let you come in on this one. From a United point of view, I guess, how are you kind of expecting us to approach this? Would you expect us to go there, try and dominate the ball? Is there any particular area from a United point of view you'd be looking at a player? Obviously, on the thumbnail, we've gone for Tooney and Galton after the game that they've just had. But Barry and Andy, you as well. Just how are you kind of looking at it from a United point of view? Where's our biggest asset, would you say, going into this game? And where do you think that we can cause the most issues?
Well, as you said, the big issue is if the fullbacks aren't as we would usually have them. If Thor plays at right back, she's not naturally somebody who bursts forward down the wing and will stick a cross in or go on the overlap with Garcia. So that's going to be a change in the game. And Leah Galton can do that, of course. So maybe with them focus a little bit more down the left. I don't know. I said it at the beginning. It's just the same intensity. That's what we need to do. We need to go straight in there and not muck about. It's just the game is get the ball, put it in the net, and we've got to try and do that. We need to do it as quickly as is humanly possible. Because when we do that, Connor, we become a much more confident side. And when we get that confidence of that first goal, you feel like we're able to go on now and get 2, 3, 4. I think when you looked at the West Ham game, it took us a while to get that goal. And when we finally got it, we relaxed and along came another one, which was really quite important at the time. So, I think really that's the issue. Whereas before, it was we couldn't score enough. Now it's just we just need to score. And the sooner we do so, the better it will be. We score in the first half, Leicester are done for, they're toast. If it waits until the second half, I think Leicester are in with a shout. Don't know what Slater thinks. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think where we sit at LSV in that Brighton game, we didn't see much of the action in the first half because they didn't really get into our half. It was all us. It was like attack v defence. I think that kind of possession play and direct possession play, it's not just knocking it about with the back and keeping it and just letting the other team run around. It's possession play with purpose. And we've got the players that can cause damage. Toon's brace in the last game should settle her after, we've talked about the potential Euros hangover, coming down from the hype and getting back into day-to-day stuff after that intensity of focus on the Euros. Toon's brace should hopefully get her firing regular. And what a game to give her a run in. It might have potentially been a game where you'd give Clinton a run out, but she's injured. So it looks like Toon's going to start and she'll be thirsty for more goals, get on the score sheet. The players around her, she's creative as well as a threat. We've got a lot of players that have got a lot to prove to stake a claim. So I think the domination we had in the first half against Brighton bodes well for getting in early and having a right go at the Leicester goal in this one.
That's got to be the thing, isn't it? Because as Mark's put in the chat there, we can't panic if we don't score. We have to stick to the basics. I think if we do that, we should be all right. I don't know whether have we lost to Leicester in the WSL. Someone might correct me here. I think we have.
I think we said we played 6 times, haven't we? I was looking at that before we realised that I didn't have the charger for my laptop.
We lost in the Conti Cup last season. I remember that.
We beat twice in the cup in the last 6.
FA Cup, wasn't it? 2021, I'm pretty sure.
And the Conti Cup.
Yeah, that was an awful game. That was. But if you're looking at WSL last season, obviously the away game, pretty comfortable 3-1 away to with the goal kind of around 30 odd minutes. Maria got on the score sheet as well, and obviously Martha Thomas as well.
But you know what, Connor? In the nicest way, we were all over them last time at their gaff 3-1. That was my first game. And there wasn't really all that much that I saw from Leicester. And we're a much better team now than we were then. And unfortunately, and I don't say this to be mean, Leicester don't seem at the level they were at when we were playing them last year. So that's why I fear for them. I've always said I've got a soft spot for Leicester because my best mate's a Leicester fan. So, I try very hard not to get too down on them. But it's like, it's like, no, they're not going to win, are they? It's just they're not. I'm sorry.
We're so getting clipped up if Leicester beat us.
Oh, imagine.
We're quite common on it. There was another question for you, Jack, I wanted to get to very briefly. Jack, who up front has pace in the team, I think he potentially gets in the counter. How many chances did Brighton get last weekend? I think that one save Mary just on the half time, and then there was one in the second half, I think, if any. But potentially, if you've got a bit of pace up front, is there anyone there?
Like I say, Shannon O'Brien, she's non-stop run. So she'll be that sort of character up front. If we play one up front, then that could be a game where you if you play 5 at the back, you're going to take her out the game, aren't you, and not give her any chances around the area. But I guess if Leicester do get the chances, Perfield, she likes to get a good ball in, and not many teams sort of deal with it the first time round, but they tend to deal with it after. But I think Perfield, a good left foot on her, one of the best in the league for crossing. She causes a lot of problems. She caused problems for Man City, but Man City, they're experienced enough to deal with them sort of things. That's where Aileen Whelan had, I think that was the only opportunity of the game for Leicester when Aileen Whelan had the opportunity. So if we can get more of them sort of chances, you've got to put them away, haven't you? Because if you don't, Man United are going to go and slap us up at the other end.
I do hope so.
Can I just check?
6-0.
I just saw that thing there that said, I agree with Mark, we should score 5. Did Mark actually say 5?
Mark Henry.
Yeah, did he actually say 5? Because I've got a horrible feeling that he's got us mixed up again and he thinks I'm Mark. And it's a very easy mistake to make because we are incredibly similar.
I'm scrolling back up the comments now just to see if...
don't recall Mark actually saying that.
I don't think so. I'm just checking the predictions league sheet as well to see what Mark bought.
Unless, of course, this is John saying that he thinks we should score at least 5, which is possible. But yeah, I just thought maybe, poor Mark sitting there being caught out again. That's not me.
Well, the man who's spoken, he did not say that, so a bit of false information there. Lanzo saying set piece are key for Leicester. Jack, have you been a threat from set pieces at all? Obviously, from a United point of view, we've been very strong from set pieces, but
I think set pieces we've been very key this season. Aston Villa, we cause them bare problems. When it comes to set pieces, because Tottenham issues, they ended up putting it in the back of their own net. We hadn't scored a goal this season in the WSL from a Leicester player point of view. It's Drew Spence is our top scorer from Tottenham. Do you get what I mean? So it's that sort of problem we've got. We came up against Everton. We caused them a lot of problems from set pieces. Man City, yeah, we put it in a box a few times, but like I say, with Man City, you're experienced enough to get rid, aren't you, and know what you're doing in them positions. But if you're playing someone like a Brighton, a Reading, or someone like that, you could potentially score quite a few goals from set pieces because they don't know how to defend them. But when it comes to a team like Man United, they've got to be on the watch out. because if they're not, then, you know, we've got big players in Plumpton, and McManus will potentially play this one as well. But she scored in the reverse fixture, didn't she, last season? Last time we played in the 3-1 win. So, yeah, there's your sort of threat, your centre-backs, your Plumptons, your McManuses, them sort of players who can really cause a threat if Gemma Perfield can get the perfect ball in to the box at the weekend.
See what you need. You need Katie Zellum on the set pieces because.
No, I'm all right. She scored 2 corners against us last season at LSB. For God's sake, just went in, did it? You know what I mean? Just went straight into the house. Thinking, what's the goalkeeper doing there? Stuck to a line.
I'm so pleased you reminded of that because we'd forgotten. It happens so often now. That's just the regular for us.
It probably happened at the weekend.
Because I actually did. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was the last game obviously at LSV. Yeah, because I think the first one was a little bit. No, which one of them was dodgy keeping, but the second one I thought that's actually quite accurate, like right into the far corner. I can't remember which way around it was, but one of them I was like the keepers. Well, to be fair, you'd expect the keeper to get both, but one of them was better placed than the other.
She ain't that tall.
There we go. That's the tactic. Hit him into the top corner, so we'll be fine.
Top corner from distance, yeah.
What's Mark saying? When we played them last season at the King Power, they hadn't won a game. Same situation. Hope same outcome. Yes. It's not a very good side. Sorry, Jack.
That's all right. That's your opinion, isn't it? I respect that.
Before coming back to you, Jack, with a kind of talk a little, just wrap up kind of Leicester. Barry, Andy, I'll come to you two then. A little bit. Right, we'll do a score prediction then, because then that'll kind of lead us off or end this little section nicely. Go on, Barry, you first. What you saying? Score prediction, goal scorers, where's this game going to be won, lost, all that kind of thing?
Well, it's going to be 5-0 because I've said that a couple of times already. So it'd be silly for me to change my mind. I'm not a fair weather fan. Once I've made my mind up, I'm sticking with it. So we're going with that, 5-0. I am never much good at guessing who the goal scorer is going to be. What you need there is Charlie, because she is a genuine witch. She actually, she calls it. Toon's going to score 2, and then she does. So yeah, she's the one you want really for that one. But I would be, I think Zellum's going to get on the score sheet in this game. So she will be in there somewhere, possibly from a penalty, maybe. But yeah, I think there is no universe. Like if you're into Marvel, there's a load of multiverses at the moment. Well, if you were the Watcher on that planet, there is no universe that exists on which I see Leicester winning this game. And again, it's top v bottom. So we've not really had the chance to say that before. If we've got any qualms, any desires to win the league, which we have, because I've said so. We need to win this game. It's as simple as that. So 5-0. That's what we're going for. And if I see a Mary hat-trick, I'll be very impressed, John. Very impressed.
I was going to say very, very quickly, Andy, before you jump in. I hope that's not the score. I'm really like OCD when it comes to scorelines. That's 5-0 to Leicester because Leicester are the home side. So you might want to flip that score around. I'll be amazed if Leicester put 5 past. I'll be amazed if they score 1, to be honest. But I'll get back to mine in a second. Go on, Andy.
Sigsworth's still with you. Sigsworth's still there, isn't she?
Sig is injured. She's still at rehab at St George's Park, and that, so she'll be back for the new year.
Yeah, I'm not copying off Barry here. It's in the predictions. It's already in writing. But yeah, I've gone 5-0. I think Toon will follow up last week with a goal or 2. I think Dalton will chip in with 1 after that assist last week. She's got to be looking at a first touch finish of the like this time. And yeah, if Leon gets a start through the middle, I can't see her not scoring.
That's fair enough. Ellie's talking about a Millie goal as well. Yeah, well, Maria scored last season at the King Power, so maybe another defender on the score sheet. Like I said, we've had 8 in the WSL so far. We might get that into double figures after we've played.
Rachel Williams, she's going to score and all.
We'd love to see that. I'd love to see someone make sure you get that on camera, Charlie's reaction, if that does happen, by the way, because I think that's gonna be some moment. Go on then, Jack. I'll let you have the final word on this section of the show, talking about the preview then. Give us your score prediction. And also, I want to bring you back to, I said I was going to, the comment that Lanzel put right at the start of the show, talking about any business for January. I think you guys need goal scores to stay up. So 2-part question: score prediction for the weekend, but also, are you going to stay up off what you've seen so far? Are you able to bridge that gap and stay up this season?
You look at the league, Brighton, Reading, they're poor sides this season. They're not the greatest. Liverpool are starting to drop after beating Chelsea, you know what I'm saying? So they're good. Leicester and them three sort of teams are going to be in that relegation battle. They will be there this season, no shadow of a doubt. But the writing's on the wall from an opposition point of view, isn't it? To how confident teams are in playing us. I'm sure Man City would have gone there last weekend and thought, I will bat Leicester 5-0. It'd be 4-0. It's because Leicester's defence this season's too many errors, too many mistakes, and we've been poor defensively, and that's where teams hurt us defensively. Teams can play a ball in the box, and we just don't know how to defend it. We either give away a corner, a bloody penalty, or do you know what I mean? We struggle to come to our senses. But the writing's on the wall in this game, from how you guys have put it in a 5-0 win, but. Leicester, am I confident in this game? I said the other day to Joe, a friend who does the Leicester City stuff, I said, this is a very hard game because we've got Arsenal coming up, we've got Chelsea coming up, and they're the games we got battered last season, 6-0, 9-0, and you're just thinking where the goal's going to come from a Leicester perspective. But if Lydia plays one up front, what chance have we even got? It could be 4, 5, 6. Do you know what I mean? That's in my head, but in my heart, I'm gonna back the girls and go 2-1, Connor. Maybe there could be an upset in this game, but I'm going from a Leicester fan's point of view. I know the season's been poor so far, and we've not been the best. We know we can get to the levels, but yeah, like Barry says, the season we looked crapper than last season. Barry said so. What does that tell you from an opposition fan looking in at Leicester this season? It means anyone's capable in beating us. And that's not just in the women's game, that's in the men's game as well. You know what I mean? If we don't play our game, we get slapped up. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-1, Connor. I think if we're going to hurt you any point in this game, it's going to be from set pieces. So I'm going to go Plumpton and Abby McManus if she plays.
I think this is your live reminder, by the way, Jack, to get your predictions in for this weekend. Because I think
I went 2-1 in the predictions.
Because I think I remember last week when I asked you for your for your predictions, and you said you'd beat City, and you said exactly the same. That you've got to back your team. I'd never ever say that United are going to lose. So
I said Man U would beat Brighton 4-0, and they did.
There you go.
Yeah, and you know what? I really do hope Leicester do stay up. I'll be quite happy to see Reading go.
I think we'll stay up. I just don't. I think Reading look worse than us. They've lost some great players this season, and they look really weak at their knees. And I think it could be Reading that goes down. But Liverpool, they're going to be in the scrap, aren't they, with Reading and Leicester? So yeah, I think we'll stay up this season, but only just.
That's a fair shout. We shall wrap this section up there. Jack, thanks very much for coming on. Where can people follow you? And find? I know you've got a YouTube channel as well. Where can people find that?
Come in and find me at The Final Whistle. I cover all the men's games, the women's games, match previews, match day vlogs, all of that. Come and find me at The Final Whistle. Come and drop me a subscribe. And yeah, come and check out all my content, all Leicester City and WSL and that. So yeah, come and give me a shout. And yeah, hopefully we can get you on, Connor, for the reverse fixture, mate. LSB.
No, 100%. Thanks very much for coming on. We shall rotate the guests around. It's been a while since we've done this.
Isn't it?
We've now got 3 of us. Fuck it, I'll just bring her in. Why not? Thanks, Deb, for
there's a greeting.
I'll
bring her in.
My God.
Do you know what?
Cheers, gents.
When I was saying that, I thought that's not come out the way I wanted it to.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we actually have the Queen of the Supporters Association. She's here. So, yes, hello, Deborah. How are you?
I'm all right, Barry. Nice, lovely welcome. Thank you for that.
Got to do it. God almighty, these kids nowadays, honestly.
Thank you. Gentlemen, nice to see you all.
Yes, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time. Obviously, we've been planning to try and talk about this for for a while. Obviously, with Polly and so on. I'm literally going to ask you my first question when I was thinking about what to talk about around it. Oh, go on. You got your hand
Can
up
I just
already?
ask a question? Because I'm a bit late to this party. Andy, what are you eating? I'm being nosy.
Oh, okay.
You look like a chocolate bar.
Yeah, it's a Whisper Gold.
Oh, all right. That's fine now. Sorry, Connor. You were saying?
Creamy.
Whisper Gold, eh?
Are you using a knife and fork?
I know you get mistaken for Barry, but do I look like Connor? But you are Barry. No, you get mistaken for Mark.
How many of those trooper drinks have you had?
Only number 3, but I'm out of practice.
Oh, dearie me. And Mark's saying hello from, I'm assuming, round the corner.
Hello.
But there we are. No, my first question was going to be for people who don't know much about the United kind of hierarchy, in terms of just if you want to talk a little bit about the current structure at United and where I guess Polly's position is in amongst that, because there's a lot. And when people always say, "Oh, the United board," there's so many names that gets banded about with that. What is the current United women's structure, and where is kind of Polly's little piece in the puzzle? Where does she fit into all of that?
Well, Polly obviously now takes on a very unique position. This isn't a position where she's replacing somebody. This is a position that has been developed, is completely new. So she's not a direct replacement in any way. She will effectively, as far as I'm aware, sit below both the football director and the deputy football director, and she will be the most senior member of staff that is focused solely on the women's team.
I think it's been much nearer. I want to get Barry and Andy your thoughts on this as well. They kind of, it's been a long-awaited arrival. On the men's side, we're still looking for that kind of football director. Obviously, Van der Sar got mentioned this morning. I think it was, wasn't it? Some paper came out and was talking about that. But Andy, I want to come to you first. I'm going to flip it around this time in terms of, I guess, just your thoughts. You saw it announced. Obviously, it's been rumoured and spoken about for a long time. But Andy, your thoughts that now it's been announced and your kind of feelings towards it.
It's been well talked about that it's taken a while, but I don't really care that it's taken a while. It's been done. And would I prefer it to have been done 6 months ago? Yeah, if the right person is around. Is Polly Bancroft the right person? I've got no idea. But it's in place now. It's done. It's obviously been worked on for a long time. And to be honest, you look at the summer for us and the transfer window we had without a women's director of football or a director of women's football, I was delighted with the transfer window. So, you know, it's not like things weren't in place to make things happen for the women's team. There may be shortcomings, there may be some kind of neglect in certain areas, but there is also a lot going on that's positive. And now we've got somebody in who's dedicated to it. More power to the club. Let's see where it takes us next.
Yeah, I suppose. So she's going to be just ahead of Mark Skinner then. So Mark Skinner will effectively report to Polly. Is that correct, Debs?
Yeah, she will work with him. But obviously Polly's role is more than just the team on the pitch. There's a lot more. There's so many more elements to her job. I know that the actual job description was posted out on, I think it was on LinkedIn when it first went to advert. And if you look through that, yes, it talks about on the field elements in terms of strategy and style of play, but it also talks about things like the academy system in terms of on the pitch. But there's a lot of off the stuff pitch as well. So yes, he will report to her as I suppose that's his next step up at this point. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's nice actually to be on a show about Polly Bancroft where I'm not struggling with my Wi-Fi because I'm stuck in the middle of a service station trying desperately to host a fans forum about Polly Bancroft and painting dismally. So it's quite nice actually to be in this situation. But Polly, if I'm not mistaken, is part of the reason why Brighton put in such an excellent system. They put about £5 million, I think they put into it, and they got themselves an excellent training facility. And I know that Jack's just completely denigrated them there, telling them they're nowhere near as good as they could be. But maybe that's because we've stolen their director of football. I don't know. But what I do know is that if there's one thing that we could definitely do with is that, as you just said, the off the pitch stuff, it's that ability to really start to, I suppose, give the girls what they deserve, really, which is, some better facilities to work with. It started to go in that direction, but to have somebody who can focus on that, because Mark's got to focus with what's going on the pitch, and it's hard enough just to try and fight and make sure you've got the girls doing what they need to do, especially with all the international breaks and everything that's happening. It can be quite tricky to get that going on. I think actually it's going to relieve the load a little bit for him, and so in that respect, my hope will be that this is going to be absolutely fantastic.
I think it's also worth noting there, sorry, Conor, just jumping in.
No, go for
it.
It
also takes the load off John Murtagh and Andy O'Boyle. And I think there's often been a concern that they are stretched so thinly with the men's team predominantly. And we all saw over the summer that John Murtagh was here, there and everywhere via Barcelona. And the question will always be, well, if he's doing that, how much attention's going on the women's team? And I'm not for a minute saying that he wasn't focused on the women's team, because the transfer window clearly indicates that business was taken care of well in advance. But what it does do is, of course, it takes a pressure off him without taking the complete role off him, but it allows more people to be solely focused on the women's team. So, yeah, it offloads some of the work, but it also allows it to really, really take place and be the central consideration for somebody.
No, 100%. There's a few questions in the comments that I want to try and get to if you can answer them, Deb. It's say what you can on those. But I wanted to go back to the kind of the process, if you will. Okay. So like you said, the job advert went out on LinkedIn, and I don't know how much you can say on this, but what is, the process? Because Man United is not a small club. It's a massive corporation worldwide. But I think I was a little bit surprised just to see the advert on LinkedIn, like a normal, as if you're applying for an admin job at a local IT company or something. I guess What was the process of that? Because like I said, it's been pretty much the whole year of looking at it, and there was a lot of names kind of banded about for it as well. So initially, this is a job that's been in development for over 12 months. I think that's something that has been made known. It went to advert, I think I want to say around Christmas time. I might be wrong on that. And I'm led to believe, I thought it was odd to see it on LinkedIn the first time. But what happens is a separate company seems to run the recruitment then. And I know certainly at the moment, the FA are trying to recruit for a CEO for the WSL. And they're going down a similar road in as much as, here's the advert, but actually there's a separate company that's going to run the recruitment. So whether that's just, I kind of thought you get to a point where some jobs don't get advertised on mainstream websites, but apparently everybody does things via LinkedIn, or news to me. So initially it went to advert. They went through something of a recruitment process. There are reasons why there were difficulties there, not all related to the club. There's obviously things that can't be said about that process, but they went back out to advert again, and slight changes, I believe, in the job advert, in the job spec. And from what I can gather time-wise, if we start adding it up, the recruitment of Polly, or the decision to offer Polly the job, was pretty instantaneous. And then we've obviously been in this lengthy notice period. And Brighton are in their right to say, no, you will work your full notice period. Obviously, it's Manchester United, so rumours come out. And pretty much as soon as she was offered the job, there were the rumours. I think The Athletic broke it because they'd like to talk about Manchester United. And I think it was 2 months after that, really, that Polly's now started with us. But yeah, Brighton, rightly so for them. And you can understand with the work she's done that they said, no, we're not letting you go any sooner. If nothing else, we're not giving United an advantage. We want to get through our summer window. We want to start the season. And then that gives them time to put somebody else in place, because she's come out from them as their general manager. This is a promotion of sorts for her. We have a general manager in place already. So this is a step up for her. No, and like you said, Brighton aren't going to want to give an advantage, but also they've got to find a replacement themselves. You know, it's not like she's just moved and you know there's a gap there for Brighton. So Brighton have then got to find that person as well. And I said, you look at the start of their season, they've not looked great. I'm not saying that's because of this, but you know they've had a lot of changes as well over there. So it affects a lot of aspects of the club. Just one person leaving. Before I come back to yourself, Barry and Andy, there's a couple of comments. I don't know how much you can say on some of these, but I'll go to Lanzel's first. Does she still get a sign off from John Merton in regards to contracts and transfers, or does John give her the budget and she controls it?
I think if you go back and have a look through, bear with me, if you go back and have a look through the job spec, it seems to indicate, don't quote me on this one, she dictates or she controls her budget. So whether that means John, going to Lanzel's point, John gives her the budget or Joel gives her the budget. But yeah, my sense is that she has the pot of money and she may need to get a sign off, but the question is, don't get her in to do the job if you're not going to give her the ability to make that decision. And also, I dare say John Murtagh doesn't want to have day-to-day the way he has done. So I sense she will have some level of autonomy on this one.
That was certainly my takeaway from looking at the job spec when, like I say, at the services. Having run through that, it was very much a case of it sounded like, there's your budget, spend it on what you need to spend it on, and you know that's your job. But don't come asking for any more, because that's what it is basically. So, and that's what any manager would do, isn't it? There's your money, and you have to do. So, seems sensible to me.
And also worth noting that on that job description, there are so many more elements. There are things like fan engagement on there. I mean, my heart absolutely, yeah, I was singing inside when I read that, because I'm thinking this is somebody else that hopefully as a supporters club we can get to, we can approach, we can have some level of communication with, and just say, hey, look, this is what the situation is. This is what people want. This is what people need. And not have to fight with that sense of somebody who perhaps isn't overly familiar with women's football, but also somebody who, right, well, I'm doing the men's team for the next couple of days. Can I come back to you on that? That's a completely different environment now. So there are other elements. I know everybody wants to talk about recruitment, and that is obviously a feature, but there's so much more that she's going to be a part of. And I'm hoping that within time, we do see those changes happen.
Andy, I want to come back to you before I go back to a couple of questions. And Deb and Barry, by all means, have your say on this as well. But Andy, I wanted to throw a question to you in terms of, I guess, the importance that she's come from the women's game. Because there was a couple of names early on that were bandied about that were from the men's side that maybe didn't have women's football kind of specific knowledge. Now, it is the same game, but there are obvious differences between men's and women's clubs in the way that they operate. So I guess, Andy, just your thoughts on the fact that it's come from, or Polly's come from, a women's setup.
Yeah, I think as men's football fans who've kind of migrated over to the women's side, we've noticed the difference that we come across as fans. It is a different environment, and the experience of that environment is going to be a big part of the job. And with the fan engagement side of it, you know, it's a completely different beast. You know, we know that we don't want to sign up to 11 different websites to get away tickets, and that is something that I would hope that she will take on board from the fan engagement side of it, and in our eyes, drive women's football forward in that sense. You know, talk to these other similar roles. You know, we know some other clubs have similar roles to this, some maybe don't, but talk to the people that they need to and say, this is not how any football should work. This is not how any business should work. Treat the fans, call them customers if you want. Whether you call them fans or customers, it's the same game. Treat them with respect. Make them feel like they can engage with the game, and you'll get more engagement out of them. You'll get more money out of them. You know, look at it in that sense. It is a different beast. That experience of the women's game will be vital, and it might even, I wouldn't say that she'd learn a thing or two from the United fan base, but I think we can safely say that United fan base have dragged women's football, I won't say forwards, maybe diagonally. There's certainly some things that have advanced because we're not prepared to sit down and say, oh, okay, that's how it works, we'll go along with that. And, we want to see her engage with that attitude and push for that kind of support in the women's game, advance it in the environment that it already sits in.
I think I was just going to say, Connor, on that yes, it is important that she comes from the women's game, but I think the thing that this gives us, and I sort of harked to it just a little bit earlier, is the fact that it's going to give us, I think, more of a vision. I think that by wherever we are by the end of this season, she's going to have come up with speaking through Mark and the fans potentially and all these other people with what it is that we need. That thing that Brighton had was a pathway to the top four. That's what they were looking for, and they had the training facilities. There was something like $8.5 million, I think it was, a purpose-built training centre, which was just for the women's and girls teams. That was it. And they had like this big strategy, and I think we're missing that. We don't really have that sort of communicated to us as fans really as to what the vision is. We're just left to what people say on Twitter, whether or not fourth is a failure or whether or not I'm sorry, that's what it is though, Connor. We're laughing, that's what it is. There's nothing else, because Mark does what is the right thing in my eyes, which is to just say, well, we just take it game by game. We want to finish top three, of course we do, but we've got to go game by game. What else can you do than that? So I think for me, that's the big thing, is that I think we're really going to get a good vision, and if she can help us to align with that, it's going to be absolutely superb. So I think that for me is the big thing that's going to arise here. It's not going to change necessarily what happens on the pitch, because I think Mark's doing a great job on that anyway. We're top of the league. Should be mad to want to come in and change that too much. It's about what goes on around that and how she can help Mark and the club to get to that next level, so that we can be spoke at in the same breath of Chelsea and Arsenal and not the other club, because they're crap now.
No, 100%. I want to let you, Deb, come back in on a couple of comments that have just come in. But firstly, this one, obviously, yes. Congratulations, Deb, and everyone, Mark and Shane, Fiona, and everyone else. I know, Nat as well, people that have been involved in the supporters club. The fact that it is now official. So that is great to see. I don't know whether, Deb, you want to do like a speech on that, but that is good news and great to see as well.
Yeah, the only thing I'd just say is credit to the people that aren't sat here right now in terms of involvement with the supporters club. You've named them, only fair to them. Also worth mentioning, there's a couple of people at the club who've really helped push this through for us. But yeah, it's been a long process, and it doesn't change anything on a day-to-day basis. It just hopefully means that we can get a bit more, whether that's access, communication, or whatever. Yeah, hopefully it helps us to get more for everybody.
100%. Mark, I'm going to come back to your comments. I want to. There's a follow-up question to that, but I don't know if this is true or not from Marty. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I saw this. There's actually been quite a few points. So if we can get back to some of them, I think that'd be really good for people. I think it's interesting that we don't necessarily refer to John as the men's director. He is the football director, and there is this perception that he's focused solely on the women's team. But for anybody who's been there from day one, if you go back to Casey's publicity shots, John Murter is stood next to her. He has been instrumental with this team from the very, very beginning. All that's changed is his role title within the club, but he is the football director, not the men's director. And likewise, his deputy, Andy O'Boyle, is the deputy football director. We don't have a director of football, we have a football director. So yeah, I understand the perception, but will it restrict her effectiveness? Quite frankly, I think John's going to be more than happy to say, Polly, off you go. Please.
Yeah, I think that's always been the thing. When you look at, I think I said this over the summer when there was criticism of the men's side not making signings, that you've got a couple of people there that are just on everything, and you need people in the kind of correct areas to relieve some of the pressure. Like you said, I'm pretty sure John Mercer sat there going, thank God I can now just be the final say on a couple of things should Polly needs it. I'm sure John's going to be there for it, for the first, as Mark said, a bit of a culture shock coming to a much bigger club, much bigger operation, more people about, more responsibility as well because of the decisions that are going to have to be made. So I'm sure John Merton and the other people will be. This
isn't a job on a par with what she's previously done. This is a step up in a job as well. So, we talk about crowds. I know we talked about Leicester they're going to have their biggest crowd of the season on Sunday, unsurprisingly. That kind of thing for Brighton, their average crowd or their biggest crowd is possibly close to our average, and we don't think that's good enough. So, yeah, big step up for her. But I think it's also worth saying that they've taken the time to recruit correctly. It's not just a case of we need somebody in post, let's get her in.
No, that's a fair point. There was one more comment a bit further. I've lost all the comments that I wanted to get to, so you'll have to bear with me a second. Has it been deleted?
A couple of questions about. I'm just going to jump in, Connor, if you don't mind.
No, you go for it.
A couple of questions about recruitment. Worth saying at this point that Polly doesn't just come in and go, right, let's sort out contracts. There have been conversations about contracts for months and months and months. It doesn't just shift now that Polly's here. There's every possibility, actually, that some of those are at end game anyway, or some of them have completely stagnated. It's not as if she comes in and then changes that. She may hopefully be the person to put the final tick on it. But yeah, that's something that's been in place for a long time, and maybe some of them have already reached endgame.
Indeed, that's we'll end that little one there. There's a nice little teaser for people there. This was the other one that I was trying to find.
So it's known within women's football that there isn't much transparency, and recently we're all familiar with the story over the summer that there were four teams with a bigger budget than us. So yeah, absolutely, that's not the kind of thing that's going to make anybody with the United Allegiance happy. The concern with that, I heard from somebody not related to the club, is that other clubs don't publish their figures. So where that came from, I don't know. Maybe someone's got something, but there isn't a lot of transparency around finances across women's football. It's not just exclusive to United. In fact, United are, I don't want to say the only one, maybe we're one of the only teams to actually publish our accounts. Will there be more transparency? I don't see why not, but I also don't see that United have ever hidden that. Sometimes that's probably done them a disservice, but there isn't that transparency across the game. I'd love to see it. Because to me, that's just another attitude of, oh, women's football's different. We do it for the men. Get it all out there. If you've got nothing to hide, put it out there.
Exactly. It's we don't need to talk about F1 and budgets in there at the moment because that's all a big secret. I think football's just slightly different, and football clubs shouldn't be, unless you're. I'm not going to name teams because I might get taken off. But there are some teams where you could probably look at their accounts and money issues. But on a lighter note, Shane's put a comment in aimed at you, Barry. I'd like to thank the waiter at the Rem for condemning Barry's choice of pizza topping. And also, Andy Slater made a point the other day that you ordered double, and apparently you didn't even enjoy it anyway. You were just trying to prove a point.
Okay.
Also,
so,
Barry, that was the guy's first day on the job. I've heard that he's not reported back in for work ever since. He was horrified at having to serve it.
Yeah. So I don't really know where to go with this one. So I think all I'm going to do is say it's a free country, and if I want pineapple on my pizza, I'm going to have it. And the next time I go to the Ren, I'm going to ask for triple. So
it's his pizza, and he will scowl at the taste of it if he wants to.
Yes, I will.
And pay
and
for
I
the
might
privilege.
use a knife and fork when I do it now, just to wind you up even further.
Then you'd be getting called me.
Go against my own core beliefs just for that.
Yes, we can, Shane. We'll get that sorted. But I think we'll get told off for restricting free speech on the. I don't think there's ever been a show in the last kind of 2 weeks where Ian's not put the pineapple emoji. That's got to be in your top, like, kind of 5 used most emojis on there.
There isn't anything wrong with pineapple. Listen, do you not remember? You won't remember, Connor, because you're far too young and fresh-faced for this. But when you used to go to weddings and parties and all that sort of stuff, there was a little hedgehog that used to be made with little cocktail sticks, and there was always pineapple and cheese. And the only thing that's been added with that on the pizza is tomato, another fruit. So come on now, get a grip.
Oh, I do like this. There we go.
Can we cancel Barry?
And Ian.
There we are. 100%. There's a few comments obviously congratulating you. I'll just bring a couple of those up while I get to the next question because I've kind of lost them all. John and Lanzel there, yeah, just fully echo what both have just said. TJ's put on I think that's a question, but a comment just saying, I could really jump ahead of the pack by hiring a full-time scout. Most clubs are relying on their coaching staff. Kind of links into recruitment a little bit, doesn't it, when you're talking about kind of scouting and understanding the market a little bit there. I don't know if you've even got a comment on that or anything there.
I agree. I'm not sure what the scouting system is. To the best of my knowledge, we probably are relying on managerial knowledge, internal know-how, and maybe that's something that doesn't change between now and the next window.
That's a fair point.
My thought on that is, with so many international breaks, it's probably, the coaching staff probably have the time to do that work. They can't go and watch a lot of players live, but they've probably got quite a bit of time during international breaks to have a look around and review videos and stuff. Whereas in the men's game, that's not really a thing. The men's game's pretty intense from August right through to May. But what's Mark Skinner filling his time with 3 weeks of international break every 5 weeks?
Rumour has it he goes pineapple picking for the Wren.
Deary me.
We need to make sure he's busier then and can't.
100%. So someone asking that at the next game if you see him. Let's see what the gaffer thinks, and that'll be the decider. There was a couple of questions that Charlie sent me before we went on this show. She was going to be in the comments, but she thought it'd be a bit rude watching the show while at the rugby league game tonight. So I'll ask them for her. The first thing she asked, and Deb, I'll come to you first, and Barry and Andy, because this is kind of more opinion based, I think. But she's put there, what is the first thing you'd expect her to come in and have a look at and prove in the short term in kind of her role there?
Wow, that's a really good question, simply because I think there's so many things she could look at. And what I would look at, I suppose what I'd want to say is find something that you can do quickly. And I don't quite know what the answer to that is. One thing, I think she should sit down with all of the fans. No, it's difficult because actually recruitment's done. I think actually the one thing she possibly will have input in, just thinking timescale wise, is the women's game review. That's something that's coming up. It's in the immediate. It won't have necessarily an impact on many of us, but it's imminent, and she would be more than suitable to feed in from a United perspective potentially. I don't think we're going to start seeing the fruits of Polly's work for some time yet, just because I think there's a lot that's going to be going on in the background, and traditionally that can take a while before it comes out to the fore. I don't think we're going to see anything in the next window from her. I think any activity in the next window is already, if it is happening, will already be taken care of. I think it's going to be sort of the next summer, but also beyond that as well. So unfortunately, Polly's probably got one of those jobs where we won't necessarily see the fruits of her labour, because by nature we'll just have things running effectively, hopefully.
Go on, Barry, Andy. I don't know whether you've got any thoughts on that question.
I think that the first thing she should do is not just look, but listen. I think when you're in a situation like that and you come into a new job in a new place and it's a promotion, as Deb has mentioned, you need to come in and see how the land lies, see what's there, what's working well, what's not working well, and sort of make your plan from there, really. I think it would be, foolhardy to just come in thinking I'm definitely going to go and do this or I'm definitely going to go and do that without, sort of seeing if it's worth ruffling any feathers, if there's any need to, or anything like that. I think she's going to be incredibly shrewd. I honestly do have, good feelings about this based on what Brighton were trying to do. So, yeah, I feel like she's just got to come in and listen, test the mood, see how it is. Like I say, what we're doing at the moment, we're top of the league, and you can't get any higher than that. So we do have to take a moment there just to think for ourselves that actually we're doing quite well, and sort of then see what we can do to try and maintain that and get ourselves into a position where we're not just hoping and praying that we get into the top three, but actually it's something that we should be expecting. And that's what she's going to need to do. And to do that, she needs to see where we are and then try and facilitate that. Or the second answer could be, we could probably do with like some mesh or something to stop the balls from coming into the fans. That'd probably be a good idea.
Yeah, and just before Andy, you jump in on that question, will she be watching at games? I'm pretty sure she already has, unless someone can correct me if I'm wrong there.
She was behind us on Sunday. She was on the pitch before the game. She was behind us on Sunday. And sorry, Andy, I won't jump in too long. But just think what you're saying, Barry, about best thing she can do is listen. She was directly behind the fans, and she was taking everything in. I know she just stood watching after the game, and she was checking everything out. So yeah, there's probably a real settling in. She's still very, very new to the role.
Yeah, I think the first thing she should do is read the fanzine, to be honest. 7 issues there to catch up on.
That's brilliant. That is. Make sure you you get that to her if you get the chance, Andy, because that'll be a good read. You're going to learn a lot about United women's history, though. If you do that, if she doesn't know too much about it, you learn a lot. You probably will learn a lot from the fans, to be honest, just by reading the 7 issues that are there. Where's that comment gone? I've completely lost it now.
Did you ever have it to begin with, Connor? That's the real question.
No, I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to start with you, Andy. We do it in reverse order this time because it was the second one that Charlie sent through. That we've spoken a little bit about short term, what she can do first. What's the first thing we'd expect to do? Longer term, Andy, I'll come to you first. What changes do you think she can make that's within her, I guess, remit? We can all talk about transfers and things like that. Let's try not to mention transfers. I think that's the obvious one that we'd all like to say. Keep Russo, keep Honor, keep so-and-so. Let's get this player in. Apart from that, Andy, what would you say long-term she could potentially work towards to keep us on this kind of upwards trajectory for the women's side?
I think, like Deb said, that you don't want to notice her. You just want to see things ticking along. If she's getting talked about, it means something's happening that we shouldn't really be seeing, I think. But I think probably it's probably not in her remit, but the youth setup. I've seen conversations recently about the pathway from youth football into first team football, which it's had a decades of evolution in the men's game and still isn't perfect. In the women's game, we had a dominant youth team last season, and where are they now? Because it's too big a step. But then that's not something she can do on her own, because it needs to be consistent throughout women's football. Competition needs to be healthy. You can't go and win 5-0 every week and then expect to step up and handle first team football. So I think looking at United's structure, looking at the pathway for our youth players, and again, speaking with other clubs' equivalents, because football clubs can't grow by themselves. Football needs to grow as a whole. Clubs can progress in comparison to each other, but that's on the pitch, and that's Mark Skinner's job. Progressing football clubs on the whole is a joint football thing, in my opinion. The game has to grow for clubs to grow together, and then the competition happens on the pitch and on the coaching staff. So I think it's that kind of structure that she can look at internally and try to drag football forward externally throughout that.
100 million% on that one.
I think you're spot on with that one, isn't he, really? There's not really much you can add to it. So I shall just go for, I would like her to improve the hot dogs at NSV.
Some people would like
I'll
them
agree
to be
with that
ready
too.
when they go for one. It's too big a wait, some people say.
Actually, no. I'll tell you what I want her to sort out at LSV is people that make me feel like I don't know how to say the word buttons. That's what I want, because that was outrageous. Out-blinking rageous.
What you're saying, Barry, what you're saying is you want them to sell carrot battens in the kiosk. That's what you're saying.
Yes, battens. I've never said bad things in my life. I've never been so insulted. Never. That's what she can sort out immediately now, this minute. I was angry.
Just a couple of quick just to jump in very quickly. The discussion of the app and the social media, that's something that is already in place. Yeah. So this is already something that we as a supporters club have picked up on and fed back to certain people. So by all means, I'm not saying that's going to be enough to make it happen. Certainly Polly coming in and identifying something similar might push it over the line, but that's something that's gone to kind of the big cheese in the social media elements of things. So yeah, we all recognise it's not great, so it does need improvement. At least we've now got squad numbers. We've got squad numbers on there, so I'm hanging that as a win. But yeah, there are. Look, Barry, whatever you say about food, at least you never got asked if Bovril was a drink. Shane, was it Shane? I think went to get a Bovril the other week and was asked, "Sorry, what is that? Is that a drink?"
Yeah, they didn't even know they sold it. It was unbelievable. Absolutely, I've never. It was unreal. Seriously, it was like I'd gone to another world.
To be fair, I didn't know it was a drink until one of you mentioned it. So there you are. Maybe it's so. I'm not going to apologise for that because I have no idea what it is. I still don't know what it is, to be honest. But there we are. I know all I know is it's a drink.
If you don't know by name, you don't deserve to know.
Andy, what are these Southerners like? Oh, I tell you.
Hey, I know what Bovril is. What's that all about? I love a bit of Bovril.
It's more of a Midlander, I think, problem. What's I'll be lucky to get there at all at the minute. There we are. Well, at least Shane knows what it is. That's all that matters on this one. There was a comment a bit further up. I don't think other ridiculous ticketing. I don't think that's going to be within Polly's remit. I'll be amazed if she can change that on her own, personally.
It's a league-wide issue. The best thing we can get at this stage is all the general managers and all the people involved to actually get together with the FA and say, no more. That's the best thing we can do at this point, because we're hearing different stories about people do, people don't. We will constantly bang a drum for it. And, you know, we're fortunate at the moment that we've got 2 allocations that you can buy through the club, both Arsenal and City. So we don't have to register with them if we didn't already, unfortunately. But we need more of that, and we will continue to push for that. And Mark and Shane do an incredible job with ticketing team at United. I have to give them credit as well. They're really, really receptive and really helpful. But we recognise that ticketing is a nightmare, and we don't all want Christmas jumpers from the rest of the league. So we'll be getting those emails soon. But the best thing we can do is really push that Polly can make that clear in any meeting she's in with the FA, as is part of her remit, it appears.
It's another voice, isn't it, in the room from a United point of view. I think that's the key takeaway I've taken from this, that in the conversations for the wider WSL discussions and women's football in general, there's a lot. Obviously, Karen Khan is now leading that kind of talk as well into what she's doing. There's a lot more talk as well with different organisations and things like that. From a United point of view, this, for me, is just another voice, another experienced voice as well, to bring to the conversation.
I think what's helpful about it as well, Connor, is you get so many people who when you have the argument about men and women's football becoming more equal, you get all these people that want us, the anti-people going, oh, well, women should be able to fund the game themselves. And actually, this is another step towards that happening and deciding where the women's game wants to go and how it wants to evolve and what it wants to do. So I'm all for it. I think it's going to be awesome. What are we laughing at? What's been said?
I think it was that one. That,
He's right. This is a fact, okay? I'm going on the record here. I asked somebody this question the other day. How many tickets do you think I've ever bought for United? In my life. In my too many years. How many tickets do you think I've ever bought? 6?
Well, you're a season ticket holder, so you don't buy home games. So it's just limited to aways.
Okay.
In your life, it's got to be in double
life.
figures. It's got to be double figures, surely.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the comment on the screen. None.
That is a good husband right there.
Oh, honestly. The thing is as well, and I can say this, Mark loves buying tickets. He does love getting his tickets sorted. But I'm so grateful because honestly, he'll say to me, such and such has gone on sale. Have you? Yeah, I've sorted it. Honestly, he gets it.
You won't be grateful when you open up the Aston Villa Christmas jumper.
I ain't getting that one, Barry. I ain't getting that one.
No, Mark's going to buy it for you. It's going to be under the tree, love.
Oh, well, it can stay there. Don't worry.
It's... Deary me. I can't remember what I was going to ask now. There's a comment from Marty. I don't know whether you want to answer. That's getting into personal territory there. But...
So, not long enough for that to excuse all of my life not buying tickets. Mark and I have been together. I want to almost stick him on the spot, but I'm the one here. So we've been married 14 and a half years now. And in that time, yeah, he's bought every single ticket that I've ever needed, wanted, or would have preferred. Before that, lots of people doing favours, and he is leading the Chubb Club this year. Yeah, you're in Uncle Sam's Chubb Club, but you speak to him nicely, Mark, so that's okay. Before that, it was lots of friends, lots of favours, lots of swaps. So, when I was a kid, my dad getting them. My brother sorted me out for a long time with tickets as well. So this is great. When people ask me about tickets, I haven't got a clue.
What's a Chubb Club?
So the Chubb Club.
There's Chubb there. That's written like the keys.
As the key, no. I really, in a minute, Mark, you're going to end up having to come and explain this. If you apply for an away ticket for the men, right? If you apply, Mark's going to end up coming in on this one. Yeah, I'm going to unplug so Mark can share this one. 1 second, guys.
I never thought the show would descend into this.
It's happened again. Chaos is ensuing. All right, bruv. Here he is.
Oh, you're muted, by the way, Mark.
You're muted. We can't hear you. What?
It's better that way.
I can unmute you. I can force him.
Yeah, I'm done. Done. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. So the Chubb Club is when you apply for an away game for United, you go into a ballot and you either get it or you get chubbed. So this year I've only had one of 9. So I am currently out of the friends that we all sit with at Old Trafford. I am currently leading that group because I've only had one away.
You're leading the lowest number.
Yeah, I'm leading it with the lowest number. So that's the Chubb Club.
And can I just confirm, is that Chubb or Chubb?
Chubb.
It's a northern.
It's a northern Chubb. It's a northern Chubb.
I've got to learn this lingo if I'm going to keep coming up.
Yeah, she does show. Go back
I was just thinking that, Shane. Look what half an hour with us has done to Deb. All her ears falling out.
She's straight away in the comments. Look at that.
Good show. Great guess.
There we go.
I'm back on now, so it's even better.
Lanzo likes. There we go. And Vincent 0 out of 9.
Right, let's go back. Let's switch back in. Right. Yeah, so that's the Chubb Club, Barry.
Thank you.
Now you know.
The world appreciates that now.
And I just leave Mark to sort those things out.
I think I might get Connor to do that for us,
Marcy, you're going to have to message Mark after this, I think, or have some conversation in the comments.
You're not guaranteed the tickets. It's a really different system. Tickets. Let's say there's 3,000 as an allocation. Obviously, Chelsea, that's very different as unfortunately has happened. So what will happen is people will apply and it will be oversubscribed and you will get an email to say congratulations or unfortunately. So you cannot be guaranteed an away ticket, unfortunately, if you go through the ballot.
So for context, though, Chubb was the surname of the ticketing officer, wasn't it? And that's why it was called Chubbed. Because the letter that you got to say that you haven't got it, there you go. So the letter that you got or the email said you haven't got the ticket, sorry. And then what was his first name? Whatever, Chubb. So it was called Chubbed. That's where Chubb. And
now it's Sam Kelleher, who is like ticket office god. So people refer to it as Uncle Sam's Chubb Club.
See, this is why I love this channel. We are so educational. It's teaching the world.
I remember in the 90s, my dad handwriting a letter to apply for individual home games when I was a member.
because you used to have to put a stamped addressed envelope into it, didn't you?
Yeah.
And send that with a blank check.
Yeah.
And if your number came out of the ballot, United would write the check, cash it, and then send you the tickets in the stamped addressed envelope.
They'd right. At the
And
time, it was £8. £8 for a
people
kid's ticket.
complain
16
about
for an adult.
ticketing now. Honestly, Andy, people don't know they're born with ticketing now.
Nope.
Maybe they do, actually.
Crikey. Like Barry just said, you wouldn't get. I've learned so much in the past half an hour. You wouldn't believe it. TJ can't quite believe it. I don't even know what my final question is going to be now. I don't think I've got any more on Polly, but I wanted to get your thoughts, Deb, because you weren't here before. Your kind of score prediction for Sunday. What do you reckon?
That score prediction. I'm useless at those. Do you know what was really nice, though? Because I came in towards the back end of that. It was actually really nice to hear a fan of another team rave or rate us. I think I'm just so used to being overly cautious about us. Historically, constantly, that's me. So to actually hear a fan of another club going, yeah, you're going to batter us. It's like me going, ooh, I'm not used to this. Look, I think on current form, we're all expecting a win. But I also know that doesn't mean we're going to convert it and we're going to win as comfortably as we should. I think it's one of those. We'd be very surprised if we don't win. I think we're expecting to score many goals, but they've got Abby McManus. Maybe she's going to have the game of her life against us. They've still got. They're fighting. They are fighting for their future. Hopefully, this is not the game where they're going to get the points if they stay up. I'm hoping and expecting that we're going to come away with a comfortable win, but I don't do score predictions because I'm always useless at them.
Well, we can finish with this score prediction. Charlie has gone 6-0. She was having an hour in before. She's gone 6.
Has she predicted the scorers? Because I need to know who Charlie's predicting here. Has she predicted the Queen of Leicester?
Not yet. So I'll find out from her if she wants to do for that. I'll get her to put it in the in her message to us.
There we go. Yeah, there's a lot of 5-0. We've covered a hell of a lot in the last hour and 20 minutes. Deb, I'm going to ask you for one more thing because I always do win it, or most of the time if I can remember when you or Mark are on. We've got quite a lot of away games. I don't actually know because I'm not attending games at the moment. Where are we at with travel and things like that? What is there any buses? I know, well, we've got Leicester, then Durham, then Everton, and then Chelsea after that. What's all the details if people need them for the next month or so?
Okay, so use through One United Club Travel, there is a bus to Leicester. There's still spaces on it. To the best of my knowledge, you can book up right until sort of Sunday morning. I think we've got a departure time around 10:30-ish. Just to confirm that, tickets are still available, obviously, for Leicester in wherever you can get a ticket. Durham is sold out. There's no travel for it, unfortunately. Everton, I think there's tickets still available through Everton. No travel for that. Chelsea, that's home. We're in the North Stand. If anybody wants to either move where they have a seat in the other 3 stands, contact the contact centre, 0161 676 770 at United. They will move you over for that game. It's not a permanent thing. It will just be for that one game. They'll send you a separate ticket. I think the next big one after that is Arsenal. They've opened up a bit more for us. There's spaces on the bus, I think, because that's now gone to a Saturday late on. So that's allowed some people to go, no, Arsenal haven't. Mark's giving me that. Arsenal haven't. We're done. The allocation's done. They haven't given us extra because we've still got some seats to sell. The bus for that is available, and City tickets are available because they have had to give us an allocation, and they will, and I would love to do this, they will possibly give us the full men's allocation of around 3,000 and a bit. And in the words of Kevin Keegan, I would love it if we could fill that allocation. Just keep going higher and higher till we get to the top of that stand. So City tickets are available. Both Arsenal and City buy through United. That's the away allocations. And that should more or less... Oh, and obviously Villa at Old Trafford. Anybody who wants to join us, we are in J Stand, which is N2401 and 2, I think. Members would have received an email with a code to come and join us if they want to in a the central section. If not, you can buy around us. Otherwise, wherever you want, and hope to see as many people at as many games soon.
That was
Is that it?
that was
No,
brilliant. I've got
who's never bought a ticket in your life. The knowledge that you have on tickets is like
it might not be true. It might not be true. I could have
But it
just
is,
bluffed
though.
my way through that, is it?
No, I don't believe you. 'Cause
I've
I
got
know what you said.
I've just got visions of Mark behind the camera doing this, like, and that, and just like all different hand signals.
He's like old John McCrick at the horse racing.
That's what I'm getting right now. When I said Arsenal have given us an allocation, City might give us more.
No.
Honestly,
can
that's the
confirm.
man. He is the
I've got
man.
the
He knows
text.
it.
5-0 she's gone for, not 6-0. 2 for Toon, Galton, Paris, Garcia.
There we go. We shall wrap it up there because we have gone slightly over. Lanzo, thanks for joining us, and everyone else, TJ, Shane, Vincent, Mark, everyone else, Marty, that I can see in the comments at the moment. Lanzo, you will see us at Arsenal. That will be great to see you again. Make sure you're following Andy, Deb, Barry, and also make sure you're liking and subscribing on the channel. When we're going to be back, I don't even know what day are we on now. Friday. It's because I've got a week
Friday,
off now.
back
So
on Monday, mate. Monday.
back on Monday, indeed, for the Leicester match reaction, where we'll be celebrating hopefully a big win. So we'll be back for that. And then obviously we got Durham as well. So if you're at Durham, make sure you come and say hello to us for that as well. For now, we shall wrap it up there, and we'll see you guys very soon.